Focus. Is it easier to prepare when you know there's going to be distractions that you're expecting? Or is it just a little bit more difficult when you're not expecting distractions and they pop up out of nowhere? That's today's topic on LTC Bowling Show. Stay tuned. Hey everybody, welcome to the LTC Bowling Show. Thanks for joining me. I am Raymond, your host. I will always be your host. I don't know that I'll ever have somebody else host the show because it is my show. It is on topics that I feel are necessary in that moment. So if you are not a subscriber, please make sure to hit that subscribe button and that notification bell so you get notifications of every time I either do a show or post a different video on a random topic. Maybe it's bowling related, maybe it's not. And speaking of subscribers, if you're a subscriber, thank you. I appreciate you. But please try to refrain from commenting on videos telling me that I shouldn't post videos on certain topics. I had somebody post on the last show that they come to my channel for bowling knowledge, not for my political views. I didn't post a political view on there. I'm not really sure where that came from, but it was about Michigan Bowling Center's opening. Keyword bowling. That's what this is all about. So just about everything that I post is always going to be bowling related. So if I post something that's not bowling related and you don't like it, sorry, not sorry. I'm going to post and make videos based on whatever I feel is necessary at that time. But for today, we're going to talk about focus, which can be bowling related. It cannot be bowling related. But for me today, I think focus was a very big thing for this weekend as I bowled a couple of events. And I had some times that were very, very troublesome when it came to focus. And I guess it wasn't as hard as I thought it was going to be. And maybe it's because I was expecting the distraction. But I had my son with me this weekend. He's 3 years old. And I thought he would, kind of run around and play with some of the other kids that were in the building or something. But he stuck by my side through the whole time. He wanted to either be sitting with me, sitting on me, or be up on the approach with me. So it was a little bit difficult trying to keep him in line as far as just sitting while I'm bowling. Eventually, we did get him to go to do very well. The first event, he actually did very, very well. He didn't have a single problem for the most part, and he sat, back behind the approach or back behind in the bowler's area with me, and he stayed out of trouble. He actually even ended up falling asleep on the floor while we were in the middle of the bonus rounds, the match play rounds out near the end. In the round of 4, he just kind of passed. Actually, he passed out before the round of 4 because I had to move him over to the lanes behind us. But he passed out on the floor and he was out for the rest of the night from there on. But that's kind of where we're going with this. We're going to talk a little bit about the tournaments that Brian Regan runs, the scratchbowling.com. Head over there if you want to see the next events. We've got a couple of events coming up this coming weekend on the 12th and 13th. Some bigger events worth a little bit more money, some bigger entry fees, and a lot more side action out there. So anybody in the Michigan, Ohio, Indiana, Pennsylvania, all those areas, if you're looking to find events to bowl this weekend, there is one there. Other people who, if you're a little bit further south and you're in the Indy area, Indianapolis, there's a regional at Fishers, Indiana. Make sure to sign up over there. Go to pba.com. Bobby Jekyll will get you signed up for that. Member, non-member, doesn't matter. You can be a non-member. You just got to pay I think it's $20 or $25 extra to be able to bowl. But for the Regan events, the MSBS events, anybody can bowl. Anybody's eligible. There are no restrictions. Obviously, he just has his normal rules. But yeah, so that's what we were bowling this weekend. We had 2 events again this weekend. One was in, where were we? The second one on Sunday was in Napoleon. The first one was in, where the heck was that? I can't even remember what the name of the city was. Goshen, Indiana. That's where it was. We were in Goshen. We bowled on a 37-foot pattern, and it was difficult. It started really, really difficult. I had to start on the end pair on 23 and 24. And I was high on the pair with 174, I think I bowled, or 174 I bowled. I was high on our pair. That's saying something. They were tough. There were some big games that were shot on the other end of the building. Justin Knowles had 279, and I think there was another 270 that first game. I wasn't sure who it was. But a few big games, and Justin Knowles ran away with that event as far as, qualifying and even in match play. But I gave it away. I gave him the sneak there. Because in the round of four of us bowling, one game, top two move on to the championship match. Justin went up and bowled his 10th frame, and he got 9 spare, which allowed me to then shut him out. I could have doubled in the 10th, and I decided that I was going to walk up and throw one absolutely terrible in the 10th frame for a 9 count, which I ended up shooting 204. And so then he just needed a mark or something like that. And so he bowled 213, I believe it was, to move on to the championship match. And then he moved on and bowled 240 to win the tournament. So that was pretty cool. At least he ended up winning wire-to-wire leader all the way through, winning the tournament. That's usually a cool thing. It's a good thing. Hasn't happened in a while, Brian said. But that day, my focus was better, but yet I made an awful shot in the 10th. In a time when I needed it. So I was looking for redemption going into the next day. And again, started that day out pretty rough, bowled on a 40-foot pattern, but you wouldn't tell that it was 40 feet because it hooked way more than the day before on 37 feet. So it was pretty crazy to think. But we were on HPLs, it was a different surface, a little bit higher friction. So we got going. I bowled 183 in a game where I was really confused. I was really lost. I started with the right ball, and I bailed on it too fast. I started with that Bloody Ocean, and I thought I had it figured out in the beginning or at the end of practice. I was just going to move left and just kind of jam it in the middle of the lane. And it just seemed like my ball was hooking earlier and earlier each shot I threw, and I couldn't quite figure it out. So eventually, I started trying to throw some weaker stuff, some smoother pin down equipment, moving further right, bouncing back left, trying to play. So I did a couple of different things. To start the next game, I finally switched to an afterburner, which was the pin-up one, the shinier one, a little bit cleaner ball. And even though it was strong down lane, it gave me the cleanliness to the front where I could at least get it going in the right direction. I could get it down lane and be okay. So I started with a couple of strikes early in that game, and ended up using the Bloody Ocean at the end of the game and the fill ball and whatnot to bowl 2-teen there. Pulled that Bloody Ocean out the next game and bowled 240. Had a really good look from there on out. Bowled 240, and then I bowled 220, I think, and then I bowled 2-teen the last game with a hole in the 10th. I missed a 10 pin in the 10th, which, kids, don't do that. Make your spares. Not that it really cost me anything other than maybe a bracket or two. So essentially it did cost me money. But moving on to match play, we actually, and throughout this whole thing, my kid was being okay. But I mean, he was kind of bouncing around a little bit as far as wanting to be up by the approaches, so I'd have to back off and set him down. And he had to pee every 3 frames, it seemed. So trying to get him, waiting, sitting back and thinking, I'm going to run him to the bathroom and then coming back, and I'm up on both lanes. So to the people that I bowl with, I apologize. I know that was probably frustrating for you because waiting on me for bowling in certain situations. There was one time when my kid actually peed his pants standing up. He was back in the carpeted area, so it was okay. And it just dribbled down his leg, no big deal. But I had to run out to the car and get clothes for him. And this is in the middle of the second round, or middle of the first round. We just got done bowling the first game. I bowled 240, but which was okay. And so now I'm in the middle of having to run and get this kid clothes because he's soaking wet. And so I go get him dressed and come back, and I bowl 180, move on to the round. I was still second. I bowled 420, so I was still second in that round because it's eliminator style, so everybody bowls against everybody. Bowl 2 games, and then half the field is cut. And then the next round, it was just bowl 1 game, half the field's cut. So we went from 8 to 4, 4 to 2, and so on. But that was a little bit interesting, trying to focus after running around, cleaning his messes. He spilled his drink, and there was a few different instances where I really had to regroup and refocus. And I think it was a little bit easier knowing these types of things were going to happen. I think it was easier knowing he was going to, make some noise and, be excited and everything. It was kind of funny too, because each time I didn't strike, not every time, but there was a few times where I would 10 pin or not strike or something, and he'd be like, "Oh, you lost, Dad." It's so funny. And anytime I would strike, he'd be like, "Yeah, you won." So like, hold on, bud, time out. We got a little ways to go yet before we get to that win. And so we moving on. We moved on to the next game where I bowled another 220 game and moved on fairly easily. And then we moved on to the round of 4, and I had front 7, bowled 260. So I was technically the top seed going in. And Sully bowled 240, I believe. And so he bowled a really good game himself. So the two of us bowling on the title. And I have it running. Obviously, you can see the title match here. And in the 10th frame, we struggled a little bit. I thought I was lined up fairly well during the beginning. I went, flat 10, 3-bagger, and then I don't remember what happened in the middle of the game, but flat 10, 3-bagger. Thought I was lined up pretty good. I had an over the top 7 pin there in the middle, and then I thought I threw one pretty well on the 7 on the left lane, and I split. I think that was in the 8th frame. Yeah, it was in the eighth frame. Excuse me, where I split. I left the 4-7-10 on a shot that I thought was pretty good. And I knew I was going to have to get up on that lane again in the 10th frame and make some good shots, probably have to double to win if I even had a chance at that point. So once he got up in the 9th and didn't strike, so he could max out at 213, it was in my own hands because I was going to finish first. I could have struck out for 220, and I threw a bad shot in the 9th and made the spare. So then I could get up in the 10th frame and I could go double 9 spare or double 9 to win by 1. I could shoot 214. And I got up and I bowled a pretty good frame. I threw them fairly well. The third one, I got a little grabby, so it got, a little hook stoppy. Very well could have hooked early and went through the face, but it didn't. It sat there pretty well and slapped the 10 out, so I ended up bowling 215, shut him out, and ended up winning. So it was pretty cool. It was a good time, and you could see in the video my kid, every time I was up, he'd come up to the seat and he'd sit right in the set tee area right there. One frame, he caught me. He screamed in the middle of my approach, and I didn't stop, and I threw it, and I went through the face and 6-pinned. I come back, I'm like, dude, you're supposed to yell in his backswing, not mine. It was pretty funny. But he didn't do it. That's the only time he actually got noisy throughout the entire tournament. So he did a pretty good job, and so I ended up winning, and it was pretty cool because this morning he's like, "Dad, you gonna buy me a toy?" And I'm like, "Buddy, we'll take you to the store. If I win today, we'll take you to the store." And he looks at me and he says, "Okay, you're going to win. You're going to win, Dad." Sure enough, we ended up with the win. So it's pretty cool. That's the first time he was actually there and was able to witness a win. So that was pretty fun. But yeah, running through that, the focus factor was at its height. There was times where he was literally behind me on the approach saying my name while I was trying to bowl because he had to go to the bathroom or something. And so I would have to throw my shot, try to drown out his voice in my head, and just throw my shot and take care of him once I get back. So there were times when it was difficult to focus because I kind of wanted to just put my ball down and just tell him, "Shh, be quiet. I'm trying to bowl here." But he doesn't know any better. I mean, he's 3 years old, so I couldn't really expect him to. What am I going to do? I'm just basically in training stages right now, trying to train him to be able to come with me to more events. So eventually I can teach him to be quieter while people are on the approach and stuff, and then I can start taking him to some PBA events, some regionals, and work our way up there. So it'll be pretty cool. But he loves being in the bowling center. This kid, he gets so excited. He always wants to go. Every time I go and drive down to Toledo to drill some balls and stuff, obviously he wants to go with me. So, and he gets to bowl a little bit there. I think he was a little disappointed he didn't get to bowl during these events, but either way, he still had a blast. He had a good time, and he tested me. He gave me some tests where I really had to put on my my focus face and get some work done, and I was able to pull through, which was a good thing. It was definitely a confidence booster for me, especially those 3 shots in the 10th, considering the day before I struggled and threw it awful when I needed it. So to rebound and get some redemption off of that, off that day, off that bad shot in the 10th, to come back and throw 3 pretty good shots in the 10th to win, I think I'm pretty happy with that, pretty proud. So really proud to have done it with my son there. So that was really cool. And for everybody who congratulated me and thanked me, I know it's not like it's a PBA event or anything. It wasn't anything big, but I haven't won anything in a while, so it was nice to actually win something again. and especially with my boy there. So for everybody that congratulated me and talked about, shared which ball I used, which by the way was that Bloody Ocean pretty much the entire day, by Legends Lane Masters. Make sure to head over to bowlerx.com and get you one today, because that thing it has been a lifesaver. I'm very disappointed I can't throw it in the PBA stuff because it's a ball reaction that I don't have other than that ball. But at the same time, it's okay. It's still usable everywhere else, so I'm going to use it everywhere else. So make sure to get yours. Go check it out, bowlerx.com. Make sure to subscribe. Hit that notification bell for me. Comment below with whatever it is you want to comment. If you want to see a different topic, if you've got topic suggestions, this is where I'm going to give you the opportunity to give me topic suggestions rather than whoever it was that was trying to tell me not to make videos about certain topics. I don't understand that. But this is your opportunity to give me some suggestions for topics you want to talk about on the podcast. So, but that's all I got for you today. Hope everybody has fun and a safe time out there bowling. Make sure to support your proprietors. Just support the bowling centers. If you're hungry and you plan on eating out, go eat at the bowling centers, especially the ones that have the restaurants. They definitely could use, the revenue from being laid off basically for 6 months. So until next time, guys, I'm out of here. This has been the LTC show. We'll see you guys later.